Coach, in a very normal year since the merger, the Niners, Cowboys, and Vikings have won the most division titles in the NFL since 1970. Tonight for Minnesota would be number 12. The game is in the Metrodome, where Lynn Swan is standing by from ABC Sports. Lynn, in terms of the Vikings, they make the decision not to start Warren Moon tonight. In your estimation, is that the right call?
It is definitely the right call to make. If Warren Moon is this team's best chance of getting them through the playoffs into the Super Bowl, and they've already wrapped up a spot in the playoffs, whether they win or lose tonight, then you have to hold them out. Now, certainly, if they win the ball game and they make it to their second playoff game, they might prefer to play Dallas than to play San Francisco 2 times in a row. But the important thing is to get there with their healthiest team. That means you keep a Warren Moon out.
That's a key point in this game. Glad you brought that up.
It's been too early to ride off Joe Montana. I think you have a couple of times before. He has been pacing himself, Mitch, for this game all season long.
I'm going to agree with you again. Uh-oh. Kansas City, largely because they're healthy again. Neil Smith is back.
Right.
Marcus Allen not only is back, but had a 100-yard rushing game yesterday, meaning Joe Montana now has a running game to go with it. I think Kansas City is becoming the team we all expected them to be early.
You guys really should watch ESPN a little bit more. They had a nice game on last night, Miami. All they need to have healthy is Dan Marino. If you saw his performance last night, and the game is going to be down in Miami, I think that's
keep Joe warm down in Miami.
They don't have to worry about keeping Joe warm. And as far as the running game, I'm not worried about Marcus Allen. Last night they stopped Superman. If the Miami defense can stop Barry Sanders and all the rest of it, Marcus Allen doesn't concern.
Time out. Joe Montana is not Dave Craig.
He isn't?
Right?
Last time I saw.
Last time I saw, yeah.
All right, well, we'll never agree on this one. Let's go to that New England at Cleveland game. I think that Drew Bledsoe is the most exciting sophomore talent since Dan Marino threw those 48 touchdown passes. I think he is so hot, and his defense is suddenly so hot that I think New England wins at Cleveland.
I can't believe I'm agreeing with you another time.
All right,
again.
way to go, Mike.
But you know, I don't think people keep saying next year for New England. I think this is New England's year with everybody being so close, and not because of Bledsoe, but because of Bill Parcells, who is one of the best coaches ever in the postseason, is going to give a huge edge.
So it'll be a huge edge only if he takes his huge frame and puts on a huge helmet and knocks over Belichick. Otherwise, you're talking about a better defense. You're talking about a game in the dog pound in Cleveland. Are you forgetting the fact that Cleveland already beat New England this year? They also beat the Dallas Cowboys. They've got a defense, and defense is what's going to get them through. And you know I must like their defense if I'm picking a team to win that has Vinny Testaverde as quarterback.
That's all I need to hear. That's enough about the AFC. Let's go to the NFC or the NFC Central playing this weekend. Do any of these teams, Mitch or Michael, have a chance to knock off Dallas or San Francisco?
Yeah, I'm going to steal one of your points about quarterbacks in the playoffs and say that I think Minnesota or Green Bay can if Warren Moon's healthy. But Green Bay, people don't realize that Brett Favre has had a much better season statistically than Drew Bledsoe, who was having all this clamor made over him. 33 touchdowns to about, I think, 14 interceptions, 23 touchdowns in the last 6 or 7 weeks for Brett Favre. I think Green Bay can go down there and beat Dallas.
I would agree. He's hot, and that's the hottest of the Central teams, Michael, but I just don't see Green Bay beating Dallas at all. I don't see it. In fact, hey, Jason Garrett, of all people, the third-string quarterback for the Cowboys, put up 42 points on
I haven't heard the word Detroit mentioned here anyway.
You're not going to hear Detroit.
I haven't heard Detroit. Well, they are the only team that actually did beat Dallas already during the course of this year. I think Green Bay has a chance because they're going to host the game at home. I think Minnesota's going to host the game, and if they get Warren Moon back healthy, anything is possible. I'm not frightened, for these teams of the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're very beatable, and I think they have a lot to lose. Their confidence is shaken. They've lost, 3 of the last 7. I think someone can go down there in that first game.
Vulnerable, Skip.
Maybe. If Dallas is going to lose a game, it's going to be the first win. If Dallas wins, gets back on track, I'll tell you what, I really think they can win back at Candlestick.
I didn't hear Chicago in there, by the way.
No, you're not going to hear about any team that allows more points than it scores, no matter what happens in the playoffs. They've given up about 50 more points this season. That may be the one team that's sort of shaky going into the playoffs.
All right, well, you've heard our predictions, and I want to say on behalf of the roundtable here, and I want to thank you guys for an excellent year.
All right, way to go.
It's been fun arguing with you.
Roundtable handshake.
And we'll be back next year, I hope. Back to you, Mike.
Looks like one of those We Are the World kind of sign-offs there, guys. Thank you, guys. Back to Minnesota in a bit. Pam Oliver will give us the Vikes perspective on tonight's game. Next, ex-49er assistant Dennis Green will listen in on Green through that great overtime win against Chicago.
I want to know what you're going to do. I want to know what you're going to do. Get in here.
Whoever said, into each life some rain must fall.
No, you're worrying too much. He made one step to the right, cut to the left on Jack, and hell, there was nobody else. Everybody else was out of position. You can't take a sack just because the guy's covered. You got to get in field goal range. Got to get in field goal range. They hope they're playing run. Wide open. Up inside. Accelerate. Accelerate. Good. 45-yard line. Good read. We don't have time. We got a field goal now. Got it. Field goal. Field goal. Field goal. Yep. We've got to get a sense of urgency. Knuckleball. Watch it. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Watch it.
The kick down to Graham at the 38-yard line. Has a run back straight ahead through the first wave. 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, open field, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown.
Oh, man, you got to get down in there. We got all the kind of guys down there. We can't get that thing done.
Walsh looks up and down the line, has the snap back on a short drop. Coxon lobs it to the end zone. It is caught by McMurtry. Touchdown.
Barn burner. Barn burner.
Boone with a snap, turns back to throw, fires at the Carter, leaving catch. Touchdown!
Touchdown! Touchdown! Hey, hey! Oh! Get your head! Get your... I want to know what you're going to do! I want to know what you're going to do! Get in here! And hey! Hey! Now, the last time, about 2 guys are right, about 3, 4 guys are wrong. We need about 6, 7 guys right going to the ball. Let's see if we get old Kevin Butler to miss one. He's made a lot of them, but everybody misses them.
A 41-yard field goal try coming for the win. Spotted, booted. The kick is up on the way, and it is no good. He missed it. He missed it wide to the left.
Let's go. We got 1 timeout left.
Slot on the right side for the Vikings. That's Steve Jordan. Back goes Moon to throw. Looking. Cocks his arm and fires it. Caught by Chris Carter. Sideline. 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. Vikings win. Vikings win.
I guarantee you the National Football League got everything that they wanted, which is 2 great rivals who every time they hook up will fight to the death. Barn burner. Great ball game.
It was. Games like that have the Vikings in position to win the Central, but they have to try to slow down the Niner offense, and Jaws will show us that when Prime Monday continues.
When my son Reed asks about sore muscles in his pitching arm, I tell him to take Advil. It's strong, works fast, and Advil's gentle on your stomach.
It'll work on these old muscles? And I know it'll work on mine.
Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Hey, Follies fans, pull up a chair and sit down, because you don't want to miss Sports Illustrated's fabulous Follies Fun Pack, featuring 2 amazing new videos. Basketball's NBA Rewind, plus the NFL's 100 Greatest Follies, both free with your paid subscription to SI. In NBA Rewind, Ahmad is always near.
I'm working here.
NBA stars will do this, and also that. In the NFL's 100 Greatest Follies, you get the funniest of all time. So hang on to your shirt, because this could hurt. Call now, and Jolly Ball is what you'll see. It comes in your fun pack free. Get 54 issues of SI for only $1.47 an issue. Save over 50% off the cover price. Use your credit card. SI in your free fun pack makes great gifts. Check a leg. Call now and get both fun pack videos free from SI. There is nothing in the world like Sports Illustrated. Get into it.
How much longer can he last on that battery?
You know, he just doesn't get it. Duracell batteries outlast all other brands. Hey, Larry, sometime today?
Larry Doty for the birdie.
Hooked it. That should cost him a stroke.
Herb.
Okay, I'll get him down.
Herb.
The copper top. Tops them all.
During my last physical, I asked my doctor to recommend something for a headache. He said 2 Advil relieve tough headache pain better than 2 extra-strength Tylenol gel caps. For my tough headaches, Advil just works better. Nothing's been proven to last longer than Advil.
Steve Young, guys, needs to go something like 0 for 30 with 6 interceptions to fall consecutive years. Right now, he's at 112.2. Could be over 100 again. In all likelihood, he will be for a 4th straight year. And the Niners tonight can get to 500 points in a season. Only 3 other NFL teams have done that with some good quarterbacks, too. Redskins, 86? If the Niners score at all, it's 274 straight games that they've scored. That ties Cleveland's NFL record. The Browns did it 1950 through 1971. 49ers having maybe their best offensive year of any team this decade. If they score 3 touchdowns tonight, they get to 67. That's 2nd best in NFL history for a season. And takes us back to a year when the Niners were rolling. The Vikings got in their playoff way. Also, Jim Marshall, the play and the career. NFL has more interceptions than Jack Del Rio. He has 7 over the last couple of years. Makes his coach very happy. Dennis Green standing by a short time ago, Pam Oliver.
All right, if there's any consolations, Dennis Green 3-0 on Monday night. I don't know if that'll help you tonight or what. Coach, what do you think?
Everything helps. It really does. I think that our guys have always played pretty well on what I call that Monday night extravaganza, so they're fired up about it. Last game of the season, a chance to win the Central Division, which was really our #1 goal when the season started.
You're talking about not playing Warren Moon tonight. I know what your thinking is on that. Could you just elaborate a little bit?
Not healthy enough to play. I think that Warren made a lot of progress in 1 week on a strain. He hopefully will be able to play next week in the first round, but try to be patient with it, let him do some work on it, but it's not ready, and therefore Sean Salisbury gets started.
Because that is the key. You need him for next week as well, but you're not quite sure if that's going to be the case.
Oh, you never can tell on a sprained knee because the progress starts in, but then it's hard to say if it'll be steady or not. So I think he'll start the week off as questionable, and hopefully he'll make enough progress that he can actually get some practice time in and get ready to play the ball game.
Tell us about this game tonight. The 49ers going to come out with their starters. I'm sure you're expecting them to go right at you. You guys have the Central at least on the line. You know you're in the playoffs. How fired up are these guys for this game?
Our guys are going to play a good ball game. I think, when you're playing the 49ers, no matter what they say about the passing game, you got to shut down the run game first. You can't allow them to be able to run it and then try to focus on the pass play. We've got one of the better run defenses in the National Football League. We'll be challenged by their run offense. But if we can shut down the run, particularly early, we want to be in a game where we don't let them get to a track meet. We're not going to try to be in the track meet, particularly in the first half.
Does it deflate the team at all when your team leader's on the sideline, when he's not out there?
Can't afford to. You got to go play. You know what I mean? This is the National Football League. But I'll tell you what, we will try to be as good without Warren Moon if we can. That makes us one of the better teams in the National Football League because very few teams can play without the #1 quarterback.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dennis.
You bet. Thank you.
Good luck to you. All right, let's go back to Mike.
Pam, thank you. Turn to Ron Jaworski. Ron, we heard Warren Moon's replacement, Sean Salisbury, being talked about by Dennis Green. And that San Francisco secondary is what he faces. Not the secondary you want to see the first time you're playing a game this year. The secondary gets a lot of credit. How good do you think the Niners secondary is?
They're okay. They're okay. They're ranked 20th against the pass. And, you look at that San Francisco team and you say, wow, look at all the talent they have. And they do have a lot of talent. So when you look at a group that may not be, their most important part, it might be that secondary. When you look at Deion Sanders and Eric Davis at the corners and Merton Hanks at free safety and Tim McDonald, who I think is the weakness of their coverage guys, they got to use Hanks to help them out. And that puts Deion one-on-one. And I think when Deion's 1-1, he's susceptible to getting beat. Not that he will all the time because he's a terrific corner. But, Phil, I know how much you love useless statistics, but when you're ranked 20th against the pass, you have to be a little concerned.
And, Jaws, this is one that is useless. Them ranked 20th is a total lie. Let's think about why the 49ers are ranked 20th against the pass. First off, this team always plays. They're always ahead of the opponent, so the defense now plays a soft zone, and other teams lack up this meaningless yards. The 49ers feel like they have the best secondary in football, and I have to agree with Merton Hanks at safety, Deion Sanders at one corner, and Eric Davis on the other. Tonight, and what they like to do is get out, be aggressive, play that man-to-man coverage, and that's where they're the best, Joe.
Wait a second, I'm writing this down.
Write it down.
Wait a second, I got this. Always ahead, right?
They're always ahead.
Best in football.
Yes.
Got the best talent. Love to be aggressive. If I was Dennis Green, I wouldn't start Warren Moon tonight.
Yeah,
I'd start Sean Salisbury as well.
Right.
There's no way I'd play him.
Makes sense.
They're great.
Start looking ahead.
They are great. I wrote it down here. This is a great football team.
Yeah, they've looked awesome.
Yeah.
They're looking for 11 straight wins to close the season. You wonder if anything can slow them down. Maybe the bye week will just take them out of that great sink that they're in. I don't think so. Coming up next, distant replay when the Vikings stop the Niner ride to the Super Bowl. And we'll look at Jim Marshall, a daredevil who didn't always go the wrong way in key moments. Prime Monday looks at Jim Marshall and his infamous play when we come back.
Here's a great reason to install 800-293-8400. That's 800-293-8400.
San Francisco 49er history. We'll never forget
yours at a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everybody out there. Only 7 years ago, the '87 season in ways was one the NFL would like to forget. We all remember those 3 replacement games, one of the sorriest moments ever in the 75 years of the NFL. But the regular teams played 12 games in the strike-shortened season, 15 in all, and that was enough proof that the San Francisco 49ers had to be the odds-on favorite to win their 3rd Super Bowl ring in the '80s. The Niners were 13-2, roaring on offense, had won 6 straight to close the season. They opened their playoff run against the Minnesota Vikings team that had lost 3 of the last 4 in the regular season. And despite a crushing of the Saints 44-10 in the wild card game of the playoffs, figured to be cannon fodder for the Niners. The question was, which Viking team was walking into the mist at Candlestick? That was quickly answered by Chris Dolman of the Viking defense, who treated Montana like an ordinary Joe. Montana was also charitable with some bad throws, and the Vikes were not shy. Reggie Rutland took this one away from Dwight Clark and returned it 45 yards for the score. Meanwhile, the Vikings offense was running on AC, Anthony Carter. He wanted to outshine Jerry Rice, and for one game at least he did. He was spectacular. 10 catches for a playoff record, 227 yards. The Vikings shocked the heavily favored Niners, 36-24. Oh, by the way, the game also marked Steve Young's debut in the playoffs. He took over for Montana late and led the Niners to a pair of late touchdowns. One man on the sidelines tonight who will remember that game, Dennis Green, the Vikings coach, was on Bill Walsh's staff in '87. But the Niners have ways of extracting revenge, don't they? In October '88, the next season, regular season, remember Steve Young's great run, breaking about 8 tackles for the touchdown as the Niners beat the Vikings 24-21. Then at the end of the '88 season, Joe was back in the playoffs, so were the Niners. 34-9 en route to their 3rd Super Bowl crown. Then in '89, it was 41-13 Niners over the Vikes en route to their 4th Super Bowl crown. But let's go back tonight to another era, the days of the Purple People Eaters, one of the finest defensive ends ever to play the position, Jim Marshall. And on one afternoon at venerable Kezar Stadium, October 25th, 1964, Marshall found, although there was somewhere to run, there was nowhere to hide. Jim Marshall, tonight's subject of our distant replay.
Jim Marshall was pro football's Iron Man. For 20 years, he labored in
satisfied, choose to chance the rapids and dare to dance the tide. Yes, I will sail my vessel till the river runs dry, like a bird upon the wind. These waters are my sky. I'll never reach my destination if I never try. So I will sail my vessel till the river runs dry. There's bound to be rough water, and I know I'll take some falls. But with the good Lord as my captain, I can make it through them all. Yes, I will sail my vessel till the river runs dry, like a bird upon the wind. These waters are my sky. I'll never reach my destination if I never try. So I will sail my vessel till the river runs dry. Yes, I will sail my vessel till the river runs dry. Till the river runs dry.
Out of the playoffs, could there be a slight chance, just a sneak, that Miami and the San Diego Chargers could put together a barn burner? Certainly, the offenses were there. These are the 2 highest scoring teams in the AFC all year. Dan Marino, you know what he can do? The Chargers probably more big plays on both sides of the ball than any team in football. Dolphins, Bulls at the Murph. Here we go. Today's forecast, 100% lightning for both teams. Charger fans watch Stan Humphries hit Sean Jefferson, moving on up for 16 yards over the middle. Then, Natron means business. Bowles past Brian Cox. Bowles into the secondary for 20 yards. Then, Humphries hits his young workhorse means. Gets a block there from Courtney Hall, but after a real fine run, Marco Coleman knocks it loose. Tommy, what happened?
Natron Means here has the ball to the inside of the football field, doesn't make the switch toward the sideline, which would have protected him. Coleman comes in, bats the ball out.
Jesse Solomon recovering, and the troops from Miramar were watching. Air Marino. Marino to Irving Fryer for 17 yards. Marino to Irving Fryer for 19 yards inside the 30. Marino. Oh, let me tell you about tight end Kid Jackson. Down the sidelines, he's fighting for 21 yards. He's really scuffing it out there. Then 3rd and goal. Marino. Oh, Nelly. Jackson, touchdown. Miami leads 7-0.
Yeah, you're going to see O.J. McDuffie here come into motion as you watch Keith Jackson move down the football field. That little move right there gets him inside of the backer for the easy score.
So Marino's been in 12 playoff games. He's on a touchdown in all of them. Natron, well, they drove all the way up the field, but now could Aaron Marino continue to strike? With the score 7-3 in the second quarter, Marino to O.J. McDuffie. McDuffie makes the spin, gets the first down of the move on McGarry Gordon, who throws him down. And Gordon with the takedown. Not a smart move by a smart young man. 15 yards against Bill Arnsparger's defense. Marino likes the work to Keith Jackson. Remember, they hooked up twice in the second quarter for touchdowns 2 years ago when Miami buried San Diego 31-0. Marino, Keith Jackson, again they hook up twice. It's 14-3 Miami. Jackson, 6 catches, 84 yards and the 2 touches in the first half. So San Diego trying to answer. The pitch to Natron means business. He rumbles for 20 yards before he runs out of bounds. Did that number 20 sound good, Natron? You wear it, you run for it left, and you run for it right. 20 more yards deep into the Miami secondary. Then give him a rest. Eric sleeping with Bieniemy on the draw play. All the way down to the 6. But on 3rd and goal, after a pitch play, on 1st down, it means it looks bad. This was worse. The reverse to Sean Jefferson, the wide receiver. Time I don't get the play calling.
Yeah, you know, you watch that play calling inside the red zone a little bit too casual.
So Miami 2 touchdowns, San Diego 2 field goals, and 14-6. Marino to McDuffie, then Marino to Irving Fryer. 20 yards, a nice sliding catch. 32 seconds to go in the half. Marino to Mike Williams from
Northeastern.
It's 16 yards, 21-6. Don Shula trying to ride, or at least drive his car, into the sunset. 3rd quarter. Chargers get the ball. Stan Humphries, after a mediocre first half, to Marseille for 14 yards. Oh, Humphries is warming up on 3rd down. Humphries to Ronnie Harmon. All reliable, but a great play by Gene Atkins. Swats it away.
Gene Atkins does a great job here of running through the football and glancing back at the last moment when he sees the receiver put his hands out for the ball.
So, down 21-6. They go for it on 4th and 7.